Joe, what are you going to remember most about Yogi?
I think the type of man he was, how he always made everyone in a room feel comfortable amongst such a great man. Just the stories he would tell. Riding in the car with him in spring training was always entertaining. He was just such a nice man, and I always thought Yogi made people around him better and feel better about themselves.
Remember that stands out to you?
We had driven over to Kissimmee to play the Astros in a spring training game. And Yogi told me that I went the wrong way. I'd taken the long way, and that I needed to ask the Houston clubby, and he would give me directions back to Tampa after the game. So come in after the game, and Yogi's, did you talk to Steve? Did you talk to Steve? And I said, I talked to Steve. He gave me the directions. And so we proceeded to drive home, and I knew the directions were the same way that we had came. And we make all these turns, and I said, Yogi, it's the same way we came, I didn't take the long way. And he said, I told you my way was faster. And it was just another Yogi-ism. And it really made me laugh. And even the way I came, we made right turns. We didn't have to wait for the red lights. His way, we had to wait for the red lights because we were turning left. But that was just Yogi being Yogi.
Former catcher yourself, what did you admire most about what he was able to accomplish throughout his career?
Just how productive he was from the position, how durable he was. I mean, you think about catching over 100 double headers. I mean, that's unheard of today. I mean, that's something you might do in Little League, but I mean, players in this day and age don't do that because of the physical demands we talk about. But and his willingness to change positions late in his career, Yogi always did it the right way. I mean, he was the ultimate team guy that everyone wanted to be around.
Joe, Nick from CBC Television. If I had to tell my mom who Yogi Berra was, what would you say?
When I think of Yogi, I think it's when God created man. I think Yogi was an example. I mean, here was a guy that on Saturdays in spring training would say, I got to cut out a little early. I'm going to go to church. I got to get to church. Can't be late. He was a great husband, a great family man who just wanted what was best for his family and his kids, took care of them. He was a great player. He had an extreme passion. I mean, you talk about putting family first. I mean, here's a guy that quit school so he could go to work when he was in 8th grade to help support his family. Was at Normandy Beach, served our country. But I think it's just the way God created man to be humble. I mean, you think about the numbers that Yogi has put up and the rings that he has worn and the celebrations that he's been part of. You would have never known it. When he came into your office or you were in Yogi's presence, I always felt like I was talking to my grandfather. I just felt comfortable. I almost felt like he was going to pull something out of his pocket like a piece of licorice and give it to you, that sort of thing. But it was just always a joy to be around him, and that's who Yogi was.
The Kissimmee story, what year was that?
Oh, gosh. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago. And years run together, but we laughed about it, for a while. And, another story that made me laugh about Yogi was when we were in Philly in spring training, he tripped and had to go to the hospital. He drank the soup, and the soup was too hot, and it startled him, and he tripped and fell down. And the first thing he told Stevie and me was, don't tell Carmen because she'll make me come home. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, Yogi, in the day of social media, you think they're going to not notice you going to the hospital in an ambulance? But, I mean, he wanted to be there. He wanted to be part of it. And I can remember him, when I was a catcher here, he would come out and he would be there while we were doing the drills and talk to us about certain things. And I used to think, I can't believe I'm next to this guy. I can't believe I'm in the presence. in the same dirt that he caught in. I was always in awe of him, but he never made you feel that you should be. I mean, that was why he was so special.
How often did you drive with him, during spring training?
Oh, pretty often. I mean, he went to most of the road games. I mean, he loved to go. He catches about 3 or 4 cat naps on the way, and then he'd wake up and start talking again, fall back to sleep. But he went on most of the road trips.
And what do you think spring training will be like without him?
Oh, it's going to be really difficult. Just not seeing him, not him being in the office, coming and visiting the players, talking about the young players. He really, he always seemed to pick one young player a year that he was always excited about, and say, I got my eye on this guy, I got my eye on this guy, and I'm going to miss that.
Joe, in your 20-ish years here, the team has done a lot of winning, and yet it hasn't come close to doing the winning he did.
Right.
I wonder if you could, as somebody who's done a lot of winning here, put into some level of perspective how much winning he did over the years and what you think about that.
Well, I think it's amazing how successful Yogi was as a player. I mean, Yogi didn't have enough fingers for the rings that he had. And to think about how they did it year in and year out, how difficult that is. And you think about injuries, and if a guy has a bad year, how it changes the complexion of the team. But Yogi was always so consistent, and the players on his team were so consistent. And I mean, I think that had a lot to do with his personality and how he was a fighter. He was a winner. He was a guy that had a passion and was going to pursue it, and people weren't going to get in his way and tell him, you're too small, or you're too this, or you're too that. He was going to get it done. And I don't think you'll ever see a player have the success that Yogi had. I mean, I think the closest thing that we've seen in sports today is maybe Michael Jordan with the 6 and 8 years. It's not going to happen. Oh,
In some way, his legacy continues because he was, with all the great players in the history of the organization, he won the most.
yeah. I think the players in the clubhouse are always trying to live up to that. The mark that Yogi set, the mark that his club set. I mean, you heard Derek talk about it, how he wanted 10. When we were going through those championship years, and I think that people looked up to Yogi and what he represented.
Hey, Joe, you said that Yogi each spring would have his eye on one player. Did he say that about any of the guys in the clubhouse right now, and who?
Yeah, this year he wasn't necessarily at spring training. I remember him talking about Nooney a lot, and just talking about the young players. This year he wasn't there, which was difficult for all of us, because I remember coming in and always seeing him on the treadmill in the morning, and I would joke with him that he's got 2 weeks to get your legs in shape before I give you a pinch hit appearance, and he would laugh. But he was all in spring training. He was there from morning till night, and he was there to lend any hand that he could.
Joe, can you recount in your, I believe it was your first year as manager, when you might have been introduced to his Kettle One routine?
I had heard about it from Joe Torre. Joe Torre, when I talked to Joe, after I got the job, Joe and I think Gator was probably the first one who said it to me, that you got to make sure that you have it there for Yogs. And Yogs had his one drink, and that was it. And he knew exactly how much the doctor would let him have, and so. Before he got there, I made sure it was there.
Who else? Anybody else? About anything?
Joe, do you have an update on Tanaka, where he stands and what's going on?
He's feeling better. We'll have him be examined by our doctor tomorrow, and we'll try to get him back on the mound as soon as we can. He feels pretty good. So far, everything has been good. Obviously, he hasn't thrown a bullpen, and he hasn't done PFPs, but we're encouraged with the way he feels.
Joe, do you have a favorite Yogi-ism?
Yogi-ism? Wow. I think my favorite one has to do with the pizza that I have you cut it 4 slices because I'm not that hungry. I can't eat 6 is basically the gist of it. I love pizza, so I think that's probably my favorite one.
Joe, what's your comfort level with Betances and Miller now? I mean, they, a little adventurous last night, obviously.
Right.
But is there any concern there, or it's just?
No, I'm extremely comfortable with them. I would never hesitate to give them the ball.